The 2 million challenge is supposed to be a fun challenge. If we read the text, the box features an old version of the Hack the Box platform that includes the old hackable invite code. Now, this is amazing. For those of you that remember, like the old people like me, Hack the Box wasn't always this fun and easy platform where you could just check out my affiliate link in the description, click on it, and sign up for a VIP subscription or even a free one. No, you actually had to hack into Hack the Box. So you had to solve a hacking challenge to even be able to join Hack the Box and solve other hacking challenges. Now, since I know a little bit of what was going on over there, I'm pretty sure I also know what I have to do. So first of all, we will have to inspect some JavaScript code that is on this machine. There will be a website, obviously, and in this machine, this website will have JavaScript code, which we'll have to, let's say, analyze and have a look at it. And this JavaScript code will lead us to an API. If it's the same challenge as it was 5-7 years ago, where you actually had to solve this to be able to join Hack the Box. Before we start with the technical mumbo jumbo, or actually we're already knee deep into the technical mumbo jumbo, we have this obfuscation, JavaScript obfuscation. What does this even mean? I mean, JavaScript is JavaScript. Well, it doesn't have to be. In the easiest form, you have something like console log hello world, blah, blah, blah. That's plain and simple, easy peasy JavaScript, vanilla JavaScript. Relatively easily to understand. This prints out some text in the console. But we can obfuscate it by using a hexamal string encoding. Now, I've never done this in my life, and this isn't actually what you do. But this is an example to show you, okay, now I have no idea what's actually happening in this code. What is this code doing? I only see console. And this is the idea behind obfuscation. So you, for example, here, you could be able to determine that somewhere the console will print hello world. But if we look at this one, this looks a bit more complex. And this is obfuscated JavaScript code. Now, I have found a cool website with a cool image that further drives my point home. Before we'll take a look into that one, let's actually start our scan, our Nmap scan in the background. So, boom. So let's start the Nmap scan in the background. Let's run this. And in the meantime, we can talk about JavaScript obfuscation. Now, the way that developers usually do it nowadays is not by doing it by hand or using this weird hex stuff that I showed you before. That's just an example to show you how it could look like. Actually, you'll use a webpacker or a tool like that that will do it for you. Now, why would anybody do that? Obviously, to keep people like us out of their code base. Now, a lot of companies use JavaScript, like 100% of Fortune 500 companies are using JavaScript. Modern websites, 79% of modern websites use JavaScript. And so the JavaScript code is public, which basically makes every website open source, or at least partially open source. And to keep hackers like us out of it, frameworks like React or, for example, Angular have webpackers in there that allow you to obfuscate your code. Now, the thing of this website that I wanted to show you is actually this part. This is really nice. As you can see, on the left side, you have the original code, which is somewhat readable if you're familiar with JavaScript, and the right side shows you the obfuscated code, which isn't even that readable if you have JavaScript knowledge. Now, we will use a tool to deobfuscate that. I'll show you right in a minute. But before we go to the tool for deobfuscation, another thing that we will have to keep in mind is that we will also be using PHP cookies. So we will find an API endpoint via the JavaScript if it's the same challenge, and then we will have to authenticate to the endpoint using a specific ID. We can usually find it in our browsers. So it's a PHP website, and PHP has some built-in cookie functionality, which if we know about, it's not that hard to guess our cookie and use it respectively in our requests. That said, how do we handle obfuscated JavaScript? Now, we have multiple tools at our disposals as hackers. For example, we can use this D4JS, a JavaScript deobfuscation. God, I can't talk. A JavaScript deobfuscator and unpacker. Now what this does is essentially we paste in obfuscated code and it will give us more readable code. Well, the code will still be partially obfuscated. Obviously, it's not going to be an easy peasy solution, but we can also try using ChatGPT to help us out here. Our last thing that we need to know before we can start is we will be trying to access an API, and one of the best or easy way to do so is by using curl or via burp. But we can see here we have a website running on port 80. So we have the website, it's the right one, and we'll check it out in a minute. So let's actually attack this thing. So we added this 2,000,000 HTB to our hosts file, including with the IP, so we can just access it via this name in the browser and don't have to enter the IP. Okay, it doesn't seem like it worked. Okay, now this brings back memories. The old Hack the Box challenge thingy. We have a Hall of Fame. So like back when I started out with hacking, this was mainly a hobby-ish site. Wasn't really that well known and popular like it is today. And pretty simple. We go to join and it said, ready to become a member? If you believe you have what it takes to proceed, click the button below and try to hack the invite process. Join Hack the Box. Now, the first thing we need is an invite code. We don't have an invite code. And fun fact, the invite code isn't even necessarily sent to you by someone or something like that. There was no real invite possibility. It used to be that you couldn't access Hack the Box if you couldn't already hack, which I'm not really a fan of this concept. Well, on the one hand, yeah, it's cool, but on the other hand, I want to access a site like Hack the Box without having to solve a challenge first. Because for this challenge in particular, you'll need to know about JavaScript and APIs to enter in the first place. And I want to learn and practice hacking, and Hack the Box only allows me to join if I can already hack a little bit. Well, now they changed their stance. You can now just join like any normal free website or paid website. And if you want to have a VIP Plus or VIP subscription, you can even check out my affiliate link. But I think knowledge should be free or freely accessible at least. Now, to do that, we are going to solve this challenge so everybody in the past can join Hack the Box. How do we go about that? Well, first off, we can just inspect the network, and this is like the free edition of Burp Suite, and we paste something in here, blah blah blah, sign up, boom. Okay, invalid invite code. I mean, I guessed as much. So over here, you can see we have this PHP session ID, which I talked about before, and we have a request and the response from the API. Maybe we can even just check out if there is like an API Swagger documentation or something like that. We do this by getting the path without the actual REST resource that we want to access and go over here, and it's not found. All right, okay. First fail of the day, not that bad. As I always say, fail fast, learn faster or something like that. But we have a couple of JavaScript things. One of this is the invite API min.js. Now, this sounds interesting. Okay, let's go over here. Oh no, what do we get here? Obfuscated JavaScript. Now, this is interesting. What does this code do? What is happening over here? Confusing. Now, before we continue, here we have another script. We have the front-end script and we have the verify form, but it seems to be the method that verifies. All right, so we have this verify endpoint, which we saw before. We have this front-end min.js. maybe let's take a look at that one as well. At least I hope that we don't have to take a look at this, but maybe it's enough if we just check out this JavaScript. Now, this is obfuscated JavaScript, but it's not a problem for us. We already know how to solve this problem. We just copy this and paste it into the deobfuscator and get something down here. Is this already evaluated, or do I need to do some clicking? Nice. The eval option gives us readable code. Now, we have a couple of things. The first one is the one that we already know, the verify one. Perfect. The second one is called make invite code, and it calls for an API v1 invite how to generate. So it doesn't seem to be the endpoint we're looking for, but it does seem to be something we're looking for at least. What does this mean for us? For us, this means we finally get to do something. Now let's check out if curl works as well. Okay, we get something, and now let's build up our curl command. Where is it? We need our API how to. So what we're doing here is we're accessing the API endpoint via curl. It's post. Okay, so we need to do it with post, and if I recall correctly, the flag for this is just x post. This -l and k is L means that we should follow redirects, and k means that we accept unsafe connections, like when the SSL certificate is not valid, etc., etc. And now we have the path that we got from our deobfuscated JavaScript, and we get a bad request. Okay, let's try it maybe without the LK flag. Is that the correct one? HTB API v1 invite how to generate post. Okay, why doesn't it work? Bad request. Okay, it was apparently because of the space. That's a new one. You always learn something new. Every day is a new chance to learn something new. Now, we get some JSON as usually by some REST APIs, and what we can see here is, first off, success 1, nice. Something in here which looks kind of weird, but we see enctype wrote 13. Data is encrypted. We should probably check the encryption type in order to decrypt it. Now, this is road 13, also known as the Caesar cipher, and if you're really interested in more about this topic, or maybe you're new to it, I can suggest you a video that you haven't seen, which is called Make Your Online Communication Bulletproof, or 10 Cryptography Techniques from my second channel, Cybercraft with Zanidd. I explained to you in detail what this encryption does. For now, you will have to do with the TLDR, which is we just shift every letter by 1, or 13 in this case. So to solve this issue, we go to just a website that will do it for us, and boom, come on. All right, and we get the text. In order to generate the invite code, make a post request to API v1 invite generate, and paste in the text we get from decoding this encrypted text, and we get something back. Yeah, perfect. It worked out. Didn't even need. I remember. I thought we needed the session ID to even be able to enter in here, but maybe that's later down the line. So far we have found this thing. What the hell is this? Is this already the key? It doesn't look like a key. It looks kind of weird. Keys are usually GUIDs, but for the more experienced hackers amongst us, this isn't that weird. So we see the format is encoded, and we see this one. Now, I'm not sure if this doesn't even work, so let's just get this, copy it, paste it in here, and boom, sign up. Invalid. Okay, just so you can see it a little bit better, this thing is invalid. Now, obviously, we, with our educated eyes and skills that we built up over the years, we know when we see encoded and this equal sign that this is most likely a base 64 encoded string. All we need to do is to just decode this base 64 thing, and usually you do this by having the base 64 decode option flag. Now this looks more like a key, for me. So everybody just follow me. We sign up here and boom, perfect. Now we just need to sign up somehow or register for that matter. Okay, let's create this and save it. Perfect. And how do I use the password manager? Update. And now remember me. Again, save. Boom. Perfect. This is the old Hack the Box website. We'll take a quick glance at it later again at what we actually did to have a learning effect. You know, I'm a teacher by trade, so this is gonna feel like a seminar, maybe. I hope you're enjoying this and learning as we go. But wow, look at this. This is the old Hack the Box. This is what Hack the Box used to look like. This is Hack the Box now. Fancy and UX and designed, and we have the machines, and you actually know where to look for things. And this is the Hack the Box as it was 5 or 7 years back. No idea. This was very confusing for me, at least starting out. I had no idea what's happening over here. But if you check this out and read everything on the website, you got the idea of what's happening and what you need to do. I think they even had educational things, but not so sure. Now, obviously, this website doesn't have the challenges, etc., as it used to have 5 years ago. Let's just say 5 years for the sake of this live stream. But it's pretty much a mock-up of what it used to look like. I mean, there are no machines down here. I mean, wouldn't it be funny if there was like a Hack the Box challenge which contains a machine that is Hack the Box, which we now have. But inside this Hack the Box challenge machine, you will have other machines to hack. I mean, that could be a pretty interesting, longer CTF style challenge, but I doubt that this one is that. As said, we can't even see the machines. There's no list. I'm pretty sure most of this data here is static. And yeah, the rules, the old school rules, don't try to hack anything apart from the HTTP network. Now, this is a little bit of a nostalgia fest, so bear with me for a minute. But actually, we got what we came here to do. We were able to bypass the entire Hack the Box joining algorithm, which leaves me with the question, well, do you need to know JavaScript for hacking? Maybe we can relate that question back to Firoz Iyam's question about which certificate to make. Do you need to know JavaScript in order to become a hacker? Now, I don't think so now. I used to think that hacking required some coding experience and coding knowledge, but then I saw a couple of other hackers online which didn't really have coding knowledge or experience, but were focusing on other aspects. So, do you need to know JavaScript for hacking? It highly depends on what your use case is. Or do you even need coding for hacking? That also is depends on what your use case is. If you're doing pen tests of infrastructure, coding can help you automate things, but it's not really required. You'll need knowledge about networks and that kind of stuff, but not about code per se. Now, if you want to hack a website, like we just did, you need to know how a website is built so you can read what's going on, so you can check out, okay, we have obfuscated JavaScript. I know this is obfuscated JavaScript because I have obfuscated JavaScript myself in the past, and I know, I can recover it with things like this tool. Now, if you know how JavaScript is built, how APIs are built, you then can go on to exploit this. But there are other hackers out there. I think Network Chuck, for those of you that watch him, I don't think he has a coding background as well as the Cyber Mentor, or at least not a formal like college education and 9-to-5 job education kind of thing. So I think you can become a hacker without having necessarily the knowledge on how to code. That said, if of course you know how to code, you can do much more fun stuff when it comes to hacking, but coding is a really good tool not only for hacking, but really a lot of tools or things nowadays. And you don't even have to be an expert at coding anymore. You can have ChatGPT help you out. All right, quick rant over. Let's take a look at what Hack the Box was hiding from us inside their API protected website. I mean, it doesn't look that interesting. We have a change log 2000. God, this website is just nostalgia. Access. Okay, that's interesting. Can we actually download something? Do we have? Can we now connect via VPN into this machine? We will find out. Okay, we actually get something. Now this is gonna be confusing. What is actually happening? We get a VPN file, but we're already connected via VPN to even access this challenge. So we have VPN inside VPN. Does this even work? I don't know. And okay, let's go on. Let's check out what's happening here. We have the rules, we have the changelog, we have ideas and feedback, which doesn't seem to work. I think I killed the website. Hello? We have to remove the hashtag. Not work. This does not work. The access works, as we saw before. The machines, they kind of work. They don't really work. I didn't even notice before. So the machines don't really work. The challenges, I guess they don't really work as well. Member Finder doesn't work. We have Shoutbox. We used to have Shoutboxes. Team Shoutbox doesn't work. The forum doesn't work. Twitter works. Okay. Well, it's called the X nowadays, but yeah, that's a topic for another day. Facebook. Wow. Now I'm surprised. They still have a Facebook. When was the last time they posted? When the 3 million something security alert of the day is a false one? Okay, so they're still active on Facebook? That's news to me. Who uses Facebook? I don't know. Maybe let's go back to the API and check out if we can get something now. So V1 gives me nothing. Let's add a V flag to make it more verbose. Look at this. We get unauthorized. PHP session ID. Remember, I said this could be useful today. Let's go into the storage. Here we have the session ID. Let's copy the value. And what was it? I think cookie and something like that. Oops. I mean, do I have to add PHP ses ID equals? We get something now. Okay, now this looks better. We're getting something, as it turns out. Maybe we have to expand on this API a bit more. Here, if we click here, for example, this is also an API call to API v1 users VPN generate. And we can actually check out what endpoints we have in here. Let's put them into api.json so we don't have to make requests all the time. And we get a couple of things for user and admin. What? Now this sounds interesting. Oh, this sounds even more interesting. So we have register login. We don't need those anymore. We have the invite generate. We don't need that one. We don't need that one. The verify is okay. And download. Okay, so we have a couple of things. Maybe this one will allow us to make us admins. But I suppose we will have to be admins in the first place to access that one. I mean, it's just a very vague assumption. Not sure if we can actually do something over there. Let's just do a quick recap of what we actually did so far. So how did we enter this website? To register, we have to get an invite code. The invite code was hidden or was generated by an API, and to generate that code, we had to find this JavaScript piece, which is obfuscated. We then took this one and pasted it in this deobfuscator using the eval thing, because here it says eval, so I said use eval here as well. After that, we found out, oh, look at this. There is actually an API. Then using curl, we accessed that API. In this API response, we got from the invite how to generate a quick encrypted text using Road 13, which we then decrypted using the Road 13 online tool. We could have done it by hand, I guess, which gave us another endpoint, which we then used to generate this code. Now, this code, again, it didn't work. Why? Because this is base 64, as said by encoded and this equal sign. So we used the base 64 decoding tool to get our key and then we were able to log in. Now, once we had access, our goal is obviously not to just have access to the website. We want to pwn this machine. So to do so, we have to elevate our privileges or find something to exploit or get into. Now, this website is pretty static. The only thing that works here is this connection pack, which calls an API, which prompted me to think, why don't we just check if the API specification using our logged in user, since we were getting a forbidden or access forbidden unauthorized thing over here. So let's just authorize ourselves using the cookie flag, and then we got our JSON, which is basically the Swagger explanation of the different API endpoints. And over here we found something interesting called the admin section. Now, this looks pretty interesting, and I think this is a pretty good point to stop because it's kind of a cliffhanger. I hope you learned something new today, and I hope you're excited for next week when we're going to get admin access and hopefully pwn this machine.